Alex had always been a man of routine. At 42, his day invariably began at 6:30 a.m. with the shrill wake-up call of his cell phone. As he stretched in his king-size bed, his still sleepy brown eyes scanned the spacious bedroom decorated in neutral tones. The half-open closet revealed rows of well-pressed suits, silent witnesses of a successful career in the corporate world. Beside him, Emilia was still asleep. Her dark hair spread across the pillow, and her gentle breathing were reminders of the partner who had shared his life for 15 years. Alex watched her for a few moments, noticing the small expression lines beginning to form around her eyes. There was a time when this morning moment filled him with tenderness, but lately a sense of emptiness accompanied him. He got up without making a sound and headed to the bathroom. While shaving, Alex reflected on how his life had become so predictable. The mirror reflected a well-groomed face, but with dark circles that betrayed sleepless nights. It wasn't the 3-year-old twins keeping him awake, but rather unsettling thoughts about the direction his marriage had taken. He walked down the stairs of the comfortable house in a quiet residential neighborhood. In the kitchen, he prepared breakfast while listening to the first sounds of the boys waking up upstairs. Soon, Emilia appeared, already dressed for another day at the veterinary clinic where she worked. They exchanged a routine good morning and a few words about the day's schedule. "Don't forget that today is the day to take the boys to the pediatrician," Emilia reminded him while spreading butter on her toast. "Of course, it's already in my schedule," Alex replied automatically, checking messages on his phone. The silence that followed was familiar. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it wasn't welcoming either. It was as if an invisible wall had been erected between them over the years, brick by brick of unspoken small frustrations, unmet expectations, and postponed dreams. Alex left for work feeling the weight of that silence. At the office, he immersed himself in the routine of meetings and spreadsheets that filled his days. He was good at what he did, respected by his colleagues, and valued by his superiors. But something was missing, a spark that had long since gone out. It was in this state of mind that Alex received the news that he would be going on a business trip to an important conference. And he was surprised to discover that Isabel, the new analyst in the marketing department, would be his travel companion. Isabel had been the talk of the corridors since she joined the company a few months ago. At 35, she exuded a confidence and vivacity that were impossible to ignore. Her bright green eyes always seemed to hold an amusing secret, and her easy smile lit up the most tedious meetings. Alex had never talked much with Isabel beyond what was necessary for work, but he couldn't deny that he felt a curiosity about her. As he packed his suitcase for the trip, he felt a mix of anxiety and guilt. Why was he so excited about the prospect of spending a few days away from home? The trip to the coastal city where the conference was to be held was surprisingly pleasant. Isabel proved to be an excellent travel companion, alternating between intelligent conversations about work and funny stories from her life. Alex found himself laughing more than he had in months. At the hotel, while checking in, Alex noticed how the setting sun highlighted the golden tones in Isabel's hair. An unwelcome thought crossed his mind. If I weren't married. The days of the conference went by in a blur of lectures, networking, and business dinners. Alex and Isabel made an efficient team, complementing each other in presentations and discussions. At night, they often met at the hotel bar, continuing conversations that seemed never-ending. It was on the second-to-last night of the trip that Alex made what he knew was a mistake. Encouraged by the wine and the relaxed atmosphere, he invited Isabel to dinner the next day after the conference concluded. "To celebrate the project's success," he justified, feeling his heart race. Isabel accepted with a smile that made Alex question all his life choices. Back in the room, he sat on the edge of the bed, his head spinning not just from the alcohol, but from the realization of what he was about to do. It was late afternoon, and Alex was taking a shower, preparing for dinner with Isabel. The last day of the conference had been a success. Alex felt torn. Part of him longed for the dinner with Isabel, imagining possibilities he knew were forbidden. another part twisted with guilt, remembering Amelia and the kids at home. It was in this state of mental confusion that Alex, upon exiting the shower, slipped on the wet bathroom floor. His head hit the corner of the sink hard, and everything went dark. When Alex opened his eyes, he was no longer in the hotel bathroom. He found himself in a small, messy apartment, empty bottles scattered on the floor, and the sound of a TV on in the background. Confused, he got up from the worn-out sofa where he had been lying and staggered to a cracked mirror on the wall. The face staring back at him was his own, but younger and visibly worn. Deep dark circles under the eyes, stubble, and a lost look that he didn't recognize. On the table next to him, a newspaper dated more than 15 years ago caught his attention. Gradually, Alex began to understand. Somehow he was living in an alternate reality, a life where he had never met Amelia. In this version of his story, he had never escaped the spiral of parties and drinking that marked his youth. He left the apartment and wandered the city's streets, recognizing places but feeling strange about how everything seemed dirtier and more hostile. He arrived at the bar where he used to spend his nights and was greeted like an old friend by the regular patrons. There, between sips of cheap beer and empty conversations, Alex began piecing together the puzzle of his life without Amelia. He discovered that he had dropped out of college in his second year, unable to maintain focus on his studies. He worked temporary jobs, barely managing to pay the rent for the tiny apartment. His body was out of shape, a result of years of neglect and poor eating habits. The new car he was so proud to have bought with his first bonus at the company never existed in this reality. In its place, an old rusty truck that kept breaking down. As the night went on, Alex felt an increasing heaviness in his chest. He realized he had no true friends, only drinking buddies. He had no goals, no dreams for the future. It was an empty existence, without purpose. Then a memory hit him like a bolt of lightning. The day he met Amelia, at a mutual friend's party. That night he had decided to stay home, but a colleague insisted he go. In the reality he was living in now, he probably would have declined the invitation, preferring to stay alone with his drink. Alex squeezed his eyes shut, desperately wishing to return to his real life. When he opened them again, he was back on the hotel bathroom floor, fallen with a cut on his forehead. He rose slowly, feeling his head throb. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw not only the cut but also the tears he hadn't realized he was shedding. The realization hit him with full force. Everything he was, everything he had achieved, he owed largely to Amelia. She was the one who encouraged him to resume his studies when they were dating. It was because of her that he got his first serious job, as she knew the manager, and gave an enthusiastic recommendation. It was Amelia who convinced him to start running and take better care of his health. Alex remembered the vows they exchanged on their wedding day, before God and their families. Words that at the time seemed so solemn and that over time had become routine. He recalled the birth of the twins, the mix of terror and joy he felt holding those two little beings for the first time. With trembling fingers and his heart hammering in his chest, Alex picked up the cell phone. The weight of guilt and regret was almost suffocating. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his unsteady breathing, before finally dialing Isabel's number. The call seemed to last an eternity. His voice came out tense, wavering, as he murmured apologies and cancelled dinner. Isabel hesitated for a moment, perhaps trying to understand what had changed, but Alex didn't wait for answers. He hung up quickly, feeling a lump in his throat. Now came the hardest part. With cold hands and a tight chest, he dialed Amelia's number. Each ring seemed to echo inside him, a cruel reminder of the fine line between the man he almost became and the man he could still be. When the familiar voice answered on the other side, laden with concern upon noticing something was wrong, Alex felt a deep tremor in his soul. His eyes filled with tears. In that instant, he understood the depth of the abyss he had nearly plunged into. "Amelia." Alex's voice faltered, laden with emotion. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to hold back the tears burning in his eyes. "My God, Amelia, I love you. I love you more than I can express." On the other side of the line, the heavy silence made his heart race. "Please listen to me. When I get back, we need to talk. I need to tell you everything. You need to know what you really mean to me. I can't put this off any longer, not anymore." His breathing was shaky, and he felt the weight of each word. He didn't know how Amelia would react, but one thing was certain. He would fight for her. The next day, Alex came home carrying a bouquet of flowers. Amelia met him at the door, her expression a mixture of confusion and expectation. He hugged her tightly, taking in the familiar scent he had taken for granted for so long. Sitting in the living room with the sounds of the boys playing in the background, Alex confessed everything. He talked about how he had felt lost, about the invitation to Isabel, and how he had almost made the biggest mistake of his life. He spoke about the accident in the bathroom and the strange dream, or was it a vision, that he had. "I saw what my life would be like without you, Amelia," he said, holding her hands, "and it was terrifying. I realized that everything I am today, everything we have achieved, is thanks to you. I had forgotten that, had let myself be carried away by routine and everyday problems. But now I know. You are my foundation, my partner, my love." Amelia listened in silence, tears streaming down her face without her trying to hold them back. Her chest rose and fell with a trembling breath, as if each word from Alex hit her like an unexpected blow. She felt a tight knot in her throat, a mixture of relief that he had come back home and a sharp pain for what almost happened. For long seconds she couldn't speak. She just looked at Alex, searching his eyes for the truth behind the confession. The love was still there, but now tainted by the shadow of what could have been. Her voice faltered, and she needed to take a deep breath before continuing. "I also felt lost at times. There were moments when I wondered if we were still the same, if we were still on the same path." She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to contain the sob that threatened to escape. "But knowing that you were so close to losing us, it hurts me, Alex. It hurts more than I can explain." She lowered her head, quickly wiping away the tears as if trying to compose herself. But when she looked at him again, her expression was a mix of sadness and hope. "I love you," she said, her voice choked but firm. "I always have. But I need to know that you want this too, that you're willing to fight for us, because I want to rebuild what we had. I want our love to grow, to be even stronger. But I need to trust you, Alex. I need to believe that this will never happen again." And then, without waiting for a response, Amelia hugged him tightly, as if trying to hold together the pieces of what almost broke, while Alex, regretful, felt the real weight of his choices. That night, after putting the kids to bed, Alex and Amelia stayed up late, talking like they hadn't done in years. They talked about their fears, their postponed dreams, their hopes for the future. They made plans to rekindle the flame of their relationship, to create new memories together. In the days and weeks that followed, Alex made an effort to keep alive the gratitude he had rediscovered. Small gestures of affection, words of encouragement, moments of dedicated attention. All of this became part of his daily routine. At work, his interaction with Isabel returned to being strictly professional. He realized that the attraction he had felt was more of a symptom of his dissatisfaction than something real. The true connection, the true love, was waiting for him at home. Alex understood that marriage, like anything valuable in life, requires constant care and dedication. It was not something to be taken for granted, but rather cultivated day by day. He had been on the verge of making the biggest mistake of his life, but gratitude for what he had saved him. As he watched Amelia playing with the boys in the garden on a Sunday afternoon, Alex smiled, feeling a peace he hadn't experienced in a long time. He knew there would be more challenges ahead, more moments of doubt and difficulty. But now he had a new perspective, a new appreciation for the present and the future they could build together. The lesson Alex learned was clear. We are all just one step away from making the biggest mistake of our lives. But being grateful for what we have, recognizing the blessings that often go unnoticed in the rush of everyday life, can steer us away from these mistakes. And more than that, it can lead us to a fuller life, richer in love and meaning. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.